Have you ever wondered what life was like in one of the world's very first cities? I'm not talking about Rome or Athens. I'm talking about a place far older, a sprawling settlement that existed over 9,000 years ago. This is the story of Çatalhöyük, a massive Neolithic proto-city in what is now modern-day Turkey. Forget everything you think you know about ancient cities, because Çatalhöyük breaks all the rules. It had no streets, no public squares, and no grand palaces for kings or priests. Instead, it was a dense, honeycomb-like maze of houses, all built one on top of the other. So how did thousands of people live in a city with no roads? And what secrets are hidden beneath its ancient floors? Join me as we journey back in time to unravel the mysteries of Çatalhöyük. Imagine a vast plain in southern Anatolia. From a distance, Çatalhöyük might have looked like a single enormous building, a mound rising from the earth. But as you get closer, you realize it's a collection of hundreds, maybe thousands, of rectangular mud brick houses, all packed tightly together. There are no gaps between them, no alleys, no courtyards. The only way to get around was by walking across the rooftops. People entered their homes through hatches in the ceiling, climbing down wooden ladders into the living spaces below. It was a city built in 3 dimensions, a vertical labyrinth where the roofs were the public highways. This unique design likely offered excellent defense against both wild animals and potential human threats. It also created a powerful sense of community, where your neighbor wasn't just next door, they were literally connected to your home. Let's climb down one of those ladders and see what a home in Çatalhöyük was like. Inside, the space is surprisingly organized. A typical house had a main room for daily activities like cooking and crafting, and smaller, cleaner rooms for storage. The hearth, or oven, was always placed on the south side of the main room, directly under the ladder opening, allowing smoke to escape. The walls were plastered and often whitewashed, creating a bright interior. But what truly makes these homes fascinating are the decorations. The people of Çatalhöyük were artists. They covered their walls with incredible murals depicting hunting scenes, geometric patterns, and even what some archaeologists believe is the world's first mappa painting showing the city with a nearby erupting volcano. They also created elaborate sculptures. Bull horns or bucrania were frequently mounted on walls or embedded in benches, suggesting the bull held a special, powerful significance. Some walls featured plaster reliefs of leopards, their bodies molded right out of the wall, and even full human figures, though strangely, many of these figures are depicted without heads. The most famous artifacts are the so-called seated woman of Çatalhöyük, a clay figurine of a full-figured female sitting on a throne flanked by 2 felines, perhaps leopards or lions. This has led many to believe the society worshipped a powerful mother goddess, a symbol of fertility and nature. While we can't know for sure, the sheer amount of art and symbolism packed into these private homes suggests that religion and ritual weren't confined to temples. They were an integral part of everyday family life. Now for one of the most intriguing and frankly slightly creepy aspects of life in Çatalhöyük: their burial customs. They didn't have cemeteries. When someone died, they were often buried right there, under the floor of the house. The bodies were typically placed in a fetal position and buried beneath the sleeping platforms. This means the living and the dead coexisted in the same space. Generations of family members were laid to rest under the feet of their descendants. Imagine living your entire life knowing your ancestors were literally right beneath you. This practice reinforces the idea of the house as the central unit of society, a place that connected the past, present, and future. But it gets even stranger. In some cases, skulls were removed from the skeletons after burial, plastered, painted to resemble a living face, and then circulated among the community before being reburied. This practice wasn't unique to Çatalhöyük, but it points to a complex relationship with the dead and the concept of ancestry. These plastered skulls might have been treated as important relics, a way to keep the memory and spirit of a revered elder alive within the community. It suggests a deep-seated belief that death was not an end, but a transition, and that ancestors continued to play an active role in the lives of the living. So, who were these people? What was their society like? Remarkably, for a settlement that housed up to 8,000 people at its peak, there is very little evidence of social hierarchy. All the houses are roughly the same size and layout. There are no larger, more ornate homes that would suggest a king or a ruling class. There are no grand public buildings or temples that would indicate a powerful priesthood. The burials, too, show little difference in wealth or status. Men, women, and children were all buried with similar, modest grave goods. This has led archaeologists to believe that Çatalhöyük was a profoundly egalitarian society. Decisions were likely made at the household or community level. It was a society based on cooperation, not coercion. Everyone was on equal footing, contributing to the well-being of the whole. This is radically different from nearly every other ancient city that followed, which were almost all defined by kings, priests, and pyramids. Their economy was based on agriculture. They were among the world's first farmers, cultivating wheat, barley, and peas. They also herded sheep and goats, but continued to hunt wild animals like aurochs, the massive wild ancestors of modern cattle deer, and boar, as depicted in their vibrant murals. They were skilled craftspeople, producing pottery, weaving textiles, and making incredible tools from obsidian, a black volcanic glass. The obsidian wasn't local. It had to be brought from a volcano over 120 miles away. This tells us they were part of a long-distance trade network, exchanging their own goods for this precious material, which they expertly knapped into razor-sharp blades, arrowheads, and even mirrors. So why did this incredible, unique civilization eventually disappear? After flourishing for nearly 2,000 years, Çatalhöyük was abandoned around 5700 BCE. There's no evidence of a violent invasion or a major catastrophe. Instead, the decline seems to have been gradual. One theory points to environmental change. Overgrazing and deforestation around the city may have degraded the land, making farming more difficult. A shift in climate could have also impacted the water supply. Another theory focuses on social dynamics. Perhaps as the population grew, the egalitarian structure became harder to maintain. Maybe new social ideas and a desire for more individual, separate households began to take hold. People started to move away, founding smaller, more dispersed villages across the plain. The old way of life, packed together in the honeycomb city, simply faded away. The city lay buried and forgotten for millennia, just a mound on the Turkish plain. It wasn't until the late 1950s that it was rediscovered by British archaeologist James Mellert. His initial excavations in the 1960s shocked the world, revealing a level of artistic and cultural sophistication no one thought possible for a Stone Age society. Since the 1990s, an international team led by Ian Hodder has continued the work, using cutting-edge scientific methods to uncover even more of the city's secrets. They analyze everything from human and animal bones to ancient pollen and food residues on pottery to reconstruct a detailed picture of daily life, diet, and the environment 9,000 years ago. Çatalhöyük challenges our very definition of a city and civilization. It shows us that there isn't just one path to urban living. It presents a model of a large, complex society that thrived for centuries without rulers, without major inequality, and without public monuments. It was a civilization centered on the home, the family, and the community. The art, the rituals. The burials under the floor, all of it speaks to a people deeply connected to each other, to their ancestors, and to the spiritual world that permeated their daily lives. It's a 9,000-year-old puzzle, and with each new discovery, we get one step closer to understanding this incredible experiment in human society. It reminds us that the story of our past is far richer and more varied than we ever imagined. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the ancient world. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into history's greatest mysteries. Let me know in the comments what you think is the most mind-blowing thing about Çatalhöyük. See you next time.